Welcome back, everybody, to the Deep Dive. Today, we are diving right into the latest in cybersecurity news. We've got a truly massive data breach to dig into, some interesting developments in non-human identity security, and even a legal update on a case that sent shockwaves through the cybersecurity world. So let's get right to it.
Right away, we're facing a cybersecurity event that's pretty much unprecedented in scale, a data breach affecting 50 billion records across 165 companies.
50 billion, that's almost hard to even comprehend. Which companies were hit hardest?
Well, the impact is widespread, but some of the biggest names include AT&T, Ticketmaster, Santander Bank, and Advance Auto Parts. We're talking potential exposure of names, social security numbers, financial details, call histories, the list just goes on.
This is making me think back to the Equifax breach back in 2017, which at the time was considered massive. I think that impacted 147 million people, but this just dwarfs that.
Yeah, it does. The attackers in this case use infostealer malware, which is designed to steal sensitive data from infected systems. What's really concerning is they were able to infiltrate Snowflake accounts, which basically gave them a key to a treasure trove of corporate data.
Snowflake, just for anybody who might not be familiar, is a popular cloud-based data warehousing platform. So the attackers went straight to the heart of where the data is stored. What are the implications of a breach on this scale?
I mean, the fallout is just immense. For the companies impacted, we're looking at fines, legal battles, damage to their reputation, and obviously the cost of fixing everything. For individuals, the risk of identity theft and fraud is substantial. It's a stark reminder that even systems that seem secure are vulnerable to sophisticated attacks.
Speaking of consequences, one detail about this breach really caught my attention. AT&T reportedly paid a $370,000 ransom to try and get the data deleted. Did it work?
That's the million-dollar question. Paying ransoms is a super controversial topic in cybersecurity. While it might seem like the fastest way to get your data back and minimize the damage, it also fuels the ransomware ecosystem. There's really no guarantee the attackers will actually delete your data. And it shows other attackers that organizations are willing to pay, which makes them more attractive targets in the future.
It's a tough choice for any company. On one hand, you have a responsibility to protect customer data, but on the other hand, you're potentially contributing to a criminal enterprise.
Exactly. This breach is a real turning point in cybersecurity, and it's going to be fascinating, although unsettling, to see how it changes how the industry approaches data protection and incident response.
It really brings up a lot of questions about the future of cybersecurity.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move to another emerging trend, one that's been gaining some serious traction, the rise of non-human identities. What's going on there?
Well, it's a fascinating development, and it's closely connected to the growth of cloud computing and automation. To put it simply, non-human identities, or NHIs, refer to the digital identities of machines, applications, and other non-human things that operate in our digital ecosystems.
So we're not just talking about securing user accounts anymore, it's about protecting the identities of machines and software too.
Exactly. Think about it. We have smart devices, connected cars, industrial control systems, even algorithms making decisions in financial markets. All of these require a digital identity to work and interact within a network. And just like with our identities, these NHIs are vulnerable.
That makes sense. As we rely more and more on automation and interconnected systems, securing those systems at the identity level is becoming more important. What are some of the biggest challenges in managing and securing NHIs?
One of the biggest challenges is just the sheer number of them. The number of NHIs is growing incredibly fast, much faster than human identities. A lot of traditional security tools and practices aren't really designed to handle this scale and complexity. Visibility is another problem. Many organizations have trouble even understanding all of the NHIs operating in their environment, let alone managing their security effectively.
So how are cybersecurity companies dealing with this? Are there any new solutions or approaches coming out?
Oh, absolutely. We're seeing a ton of innovation in this space. Several companies are developing solutions specifically for NHI security, focusing on things like identity and access management, threat detection, and vulnerability management.
Can you give us some examples? I'm curious how companies are tackling this.
Sure. Two partnerships in particular are really making some noise. First, we have CyberArk and Wiz joining forces to enhance security in multi-cloud environments. Their goal is to provide a single platform for managing and securing both human and non-human identities across different cloud providers.
So it's about creating a more holistic approach to identity security in the cloud.
Exactly. By combining their strengths, CyberArk's expertise in privileged access management and Wiz's cloud security platform, they're hoping to provide a truly comprehensive solution for NHI security in the cloud.
That sounds like a powerful combination. What about the second partnership?
The second one involves Silverfort, a company specializing in identity-first security. They acquired Resonant, who are leaders in dynamic authorization and risk-based authentication. They're aiming to build a unified platform that secures access for both humans and NHIs across hybrid environments, including on-premises systems, cloud services, and even IoT devices. It's ambitious, but they're positioning themselves to be real leaders in identity-first security.
It seems like identity is becoming the new frontier in cybersecurity. As our digital world gets more complex and everything is interconnected, securing those connections at the identity level is crucial.
Absolutely. Identity is the key to unlocking and protecting everything in the digital world. And as we adopt things like cloud computing, artificial intelligence, and the Internet of Things, the need for strong identity security will just become more and more critical.
It's definitely something to keep an eye on. Okay, so let's shift gears a bit. Let's talk about that legal update on a case that really shook things up. The Pentagon leaker, Jack Teixeira.
Yeah, this case really captured everyone's attention in the cybersecurity community earlier this year. Just to recap, Teixeira was an Air National Guardsman, and he was accused of leaking classified documents on Discord.
Those documents had some seriously sensitive information. Things like details about the war in Ukraine and other global intelligence assessments. It was a huge breach of national security. And it really raised a lot of questions about insider threats and how security clearances are given.
For sure. Teixeira's case is a stark reminder that breaches can come from inside, even from people who have access to top-secret information. It showed how important it is to have strong insider threat detection and prevention programs in place, as well as the need to constantly monitor user activity for anything suspicious.
So what's the latest?
Well, Teixeira was just sentenced to 15 years in prison.
Wow, that's a serious sentence. It sends a powerful message about how seriously leaking classified information is taken. What are some of the main takeaways from this case for organizations?
I think it really underscores the importance of a multi-layered approach to security. Of course, technology is crucial. Things like access controls, monitoring systems, and data loss prevention tools. But the human element is just as critical. Organizations need to build a culture of security awareness, teach their employees about the risks, and implement clear policies and procedures for handling sensitive data.
It's a reminder that cybersecurity isn't just about technology. It's also about people and processes. All right, so back to the world of tech news. Apple recently released iOS 18.1, and it includes a security feature that's gotten a lot of people talking. Can you fill us in?
So this new feature will automatically reboot iPhones after they've been locked for 4 days.
Reboot. What's the point of that?
It's designed to make things more secure by messing with password cracking tools. A lot of those tools need a constant connection to the device, so they can keep guessing passwords. But periodically rebooting the phone, Apple is basically breaking that connection and making it a lot harder for attackers to crack the phone's passcode.
That's pretty smart.
Yeah.
But I'm sure some people are worried about privacy.
You're right. This feature has started a conversation about balancing security and privacy. Law enforcement agencies in particular are worried that this will make it harder to access devices during investigations. They argue that it could hurt their ability to collect evidence and potentially obstruct justice.
But on the other side, you have privacy advocates who are praising Apple for prioritizing user privacy.
Exactly. They argue that this feature gives an extra layer of protection for personal data and stops people from accessing sensitive information without permission. It's a classic example of the constant back and forth between security and privacy. And it raises some important questions about how we find the right balance in the digital age.
It's definitely a tricky issue with no simple solutions. We'll have to see how this all plays out. Okay, so on the topic of data breaches, Amazon recently confirmed an incident that hit a little close to home for them. What happened there?
Unfortunately, Amazon was hit with a data breach, stemming from that MoveIt transfer vulnerability from last year. MoveIt is a managed file transfer software used by tons of organizations around the world. And last year, a critical vulnerability was found and was exploited by cybercriminals very quickly.
It was a big deal at the time. Lots of companies were scrambling to patch their systems.
It was a major cybersecurity event, and the impact is still being felt today. In Amazon's case, it led to employee contact information being exposed.
So not customer data this time, but still a big breach.
Absolutely. And it really reinforces that even the biggest companies with the most sophisticated security are not immune to cyber attacks.
And it also highlights how important supply chain security is.
I couldn't agree more. Organizations need to really carefully check the security of their vendors and partners. because a weakness in their systems can become a vulnerability for you.
It's a reminder that we're all in this together, and we need to work together to build stronger defenses. Okay, so we've been talking about some high-profile incidents, but cyber attacks can target anyone, even small towns like Rockingham, Vermont.
That's true. Unfortunately, Rockingham was recently hit with a phishing scam that cost them $24,000.
Ouch. That's got to sting for a small town. What happened?
The scammer sent a fake vendor invoice through a compromised email account, and the town's automatic payment system just processed the payment without any warning signs.
So classic social engineering.
Exactly. The scammers took advantage of people's trust and exploited the town's automated systems. It's a cautionary tale for organizations of all sizes.
What are some things smaller organizations can do to protect themselves, especially those that might not have the same resources as a big company?
The most important things are employee training and awareness. Make sure your staff knows about phishing scams, social engineering tactics, and the importance of checking information carefully before making any payments. Even smaller organizations can implement basic security controls, like multi-factor authentication and email filtering, to reduce their risk. And don't forget about having clear policies and procedures for financial transactions.
Solid advice. It's a reminder that cybersecurity isn't just a big company problem. It's something that everyone needs to be aware of and take steps to protect themselves. Okay, so let's shift gears and look at some good news in the cybersecurity world. Researchers at Memorial University were recently awarded a grant to help improve cybersecurity in a sector that often gets overlooked, the maritime industry.
Yeah, this is a really interesting development. The maritime industry is obviously essential for global trade and transportation, but they're often behind other industries when it comes to cybersecurity.
What are some of the specific challenges in securing the maritime industry?
Well, think about the environment. Ships are essentially floating cities
Mm-hmm.
with complex networks, operational technology, and often limited connectivity. You have crews constantly coming and going, cargo being loaded and unloaded, and communication systems connecting ships to shore-based operations. It's a constantly changing and difficult environment to secure.
So how will this grant address those challenges?
The money will support a bunch of different initiatives, including advanced cybersecurity training for maritime professionals, research into new security technologies and best practices for the industry, and collaboration with industry partners to create and implement effective cybersecurity solutions.
Sounds like a holistic approach,
Yeah.
which is great to see.
It is, and it's much needed. As the maritime industry becomes more dependent on digital technologies and connected systems, the risk of cyber attacks goes up too.
And speaking of investments, let's talk about a company that's been doing really well in the cybersecurity market, Cyberattack. Their stock has been through the roof this year. What's behind their success?
Cyberark has really established themselves as a leader in identity security, and their focus on managing both human and machine identities has been a hit with investors. They've also been making some smart acquisitions, like their purchase of Venafi, which specializes in machine identity protection.
So they're tapping into that growing understanding that identity is the new perimeter in cybersecurity.
Exactly. As organizations move to the cloud, embrace automation, and connect more devices, the traditional idea of a network perimeter is fading away. Identity is becoming the main way to control access to sensitive data and systems, and CyberArk is all in on that trend.
It's definitely working out for them. Their strong financials are proof of the growing demand for robust identity security solutions. Now let's look at Europe. Germany is being very proactive about cybersecurity, especially with